Welcome back.
Welcome to episode 4, 2410K, Trail to Moab. Something we're trying to do along with this 10,000 mile adventure is to spend as much time as we can on the dirt. So avoiding some of these major highways. Quite frankly, this rig doesn't like to go 80. It's pretty fast highways here in Utah. So we are cruising out of the Green River area, kind of central western Utah, and cruising our way down to Moab. Found a little dirt track here, and it's going to allow us to skip a bunch of the highway and just boogie on through. And I can't argue with that view.
It's absolutely beautiful out here.
It is gorgeous. It's even pretty green out here. I say that it's covered in a bunch of sand, but the greenery, there is some living plant life. It's beautiful. Gorgeous rocks, crunch of the dirt. I can't ask for anything more. Well, it's time to do highway stuff. And we've been aired down for like a week. So it's time to get away from the squishy tires, get some pressure back in here. And for a long time now, I've been using an ARB dual compressor. We had it mounted in a case for a while that we just chucked in the back of here when we had more of a box and case kitchen system. But since we upgraded to the tin bin drawer system back here, we mounted it right on the side of that drawer system. So I can just sneak my paw back in here and kick the compressor on. I use a little digital gauge also from ARB. Then pump up the tires. It's pretty quick. I think it's like 5 or 6 seconds a pound. So that's really not bad. I'm gonna get up to highway pressure and try not to annoy every driver around here by going slow. Yeah. See you in a minute.
That's very quiet.
Yeah. This compressor's pretty quiet. It does a good job. It never overheats. I used to use a small, I think it was by Smittybilt or something, a single air compressor, and I would overheat it all the time, even just on 35s. Some of that was it just being out in the sun and getting hot from the sun and overworking. But this dual compressor, I haven't had any problems with it. Just kind of blow out the filters because it is outside, but it not being in the engine compartment, it definitely saves it from some of the heat damage for being under hood. A little thing, I can swap out all the valve stem caps. So these little ones, these little metal ones, it's a lot easier to grab. Spin on and off as we're doing this pretty frequently. It's a little thing, but they don't blow everywhere. I can just kind of stick them in the middle of the tread. The little plastic ones, they don't weigh anything. The slightest breeze comes through and that thing's 100 yards down. So I carry a few of those as extras, even if we do lose some, but I always swap all those out. They're easy to grab and twist off too. Alrighty. Tires are aired up, hubs are unlocked, sway bars reconnected. We're back in highway mode. Dogs are walked. Let's go do this highway thing. Yeah. Just a few miles though. Get into Moab, blah, blah, blah. Get into Moab and resupply. beautiful Moab, Utah. This place is absolutely gorgeous. I think I say that about every place we land, but it's true, they are. We landed up here right off on a camp spot just off the Fins and Things trail. So it's been fantastic watching the rigs roll by. We're set up in overland mode right now. And, a lot of the trails out here there's a lot of traction out here from the type of rock, but a lot of them are very steep and just a tickle off camber, which is just a not great combination for the way we're set up right now. But I've been thoroughly enjoying watching all the other rigs wheel some of this and just being out in this atmosphere. It's been gorgeous. But my original plan coming out here was to bypass some of Moab and head up to Porcupine Ridge, which is up in the National Forest here. However, when we got up there yesterday, the trail was closed for some construction. So we just barreled back down here to this camp spot. But on our way back down, I popped a couple codes on the old rig here. One of them was the map sensor. So we'll see, I'm gonna reset the computer, got the battery unhooked, and ran into town this morning and picked up another map sensor. So we're gonna try swapping that out and see if that fixes the issue. I was having some idling and stumbling issues, so it does point towards a bad map sensor, not just throwing it off on a code for being at elevation and things like that. But there's always something. Well, there's the old one. I don't think our little vacuum port has any cracks or anything in it. Being in the dry desert, some of this is holding up pretty well. Well, let's pop in a new one. Pop that little guy on there. Get that onto the vacuum fitting. All right, bolt it back up. We're good. Thanks, man. Nice Jeep. Thank you.
It's like an old Nintendo 64, just blowing in and it'll work.
Blowing the old cartridge. Actually, the connector's pretty clean. So, plug that unit back in. Let the computer do a hard reset and see where we are when that lands. Now, I got to mention, though, the automotive community, the off-road community, car community as a whole really is awesome. Earlier this morning, there was a gentleman down here in a Land Cruiser that had a failed relay, and you're dead in the water. It happened to be his EFI relay, and without that relay, it doesn't send any power to the fuel pump. Yeah, nothing. You're just sitting back. So when I ran in to grab this map sensor, we also grabbed his relay, and the truck popped off, and he was able to get out of here. And while I've got the hood open here, wrenching, another gentleman rolls by and asks if everything's okay. It's just awesome. You don't have to. As an individual, you could just cruise on by, but they don't. This community is really awesome and always willing to help each other out. I think that's just really cool. But now we got the map sensor done. Another code that popped up was a fuel sender circuitry issue. So after a little bit of reading, it might just be due to a dirty connection at the wiring connection to the fuel pump in the back here. So I'm going to go clean that out, reseat that while the computer is doing its thing and doing a hard reset there. Leave that unplugged for about a half an hour. And then we'll spark her off and see what happens. Well, got that connector in the back cleaned up and reassembled. Let the battery sit for a bit. So I'll see if that hard resets it or not, or if I need to clear the codes as well. Find out here momentarily. Side note, I've used this tool roll for a long time. This thing is from Blue Ridge Overland gear. It has been beaten. I will never recommend gear if I haven't personally abused it. That's lived in a lot of places and still holds up really well. Zippers are all still intact and rolls up and keep everything separated. I can just chuck that behind the seat. So, highly recommend. But, let's see if it'll bark off. No codes. See, once a high idle comes down, if that smooths out at all. Look at that. Well, for now, that'll work. Another repair done. I'm just gonna kick back and enjoy this view. Good evening from another epic camp spot here in Utah. We've been exploring all day, and this area is just beautiful. Again, we've been really fortunate with our camp spots lately, and this has been a fantastic view. But we've been out meandering all day. I'm pretty exhausted, so we're going to do something a little bit quicker for dinner tonight. Let's jump into the tin bin kitchen and show you what we got going on. Tonight's dinner is a little bit quicker one for us. Still plenty of calories and hearty. We're going to work up a carbonara-ish. Grab a few things out of the fridge here. Now, traditionally in a carbonara, I'd have some pancetta, but I've got bacon, so that'll work. Fatty pork will do the thing. Grab out some garlic. That'll be enough to get us started for now. So like I said, we've been out adventuring all day and really exploring this. We popped into Moab a few days ago, needed some services and to do a little laundry and reconnect with the rest of the internet world out there in service. And that was cool. We got to stay right at Moab there, right in the heart of all the famous trails you know about, fins and things. Uh, it was really cool, staying right on the edge of fins and things actually. But then we peeled out of there, and we headed a little northwest of Moab. It's a little beautiful chunk of the country, all wide open BLM land out here. And we've just been exploring, taking this road and a bunch of offshoots that led to some really beautiful sights. There's a big canyon just off back behind here. So we're on this little bit of ledge and then it drops deep into a canyon. It is gorgeous. As I fight to get these gloves on, it's a good reason for it though. Like I mentioned in the previous one that trying to conserve water, save on washing a little bit. And I'll particularly use gloves when I'm handling raw proteins. So this is a raw pork product. I'm gonna slim down on the cross-contamination. I can just peel this set of gloves off when I'm done dealing with this, and into the trash it goes. Let's get the pan on to sear this up. Get out our bacon here. A little cheat for doing this, especially with not contaminating my cutting board with all these raw proteins. Just snag a pair of scissors and then use these to quarter up and make my lardons, if you will. I'm gonna make that similar to a pancetta cut. And I'll just cut these straight into the pan and let those start rendering. There's no little hack for you. When we're out remote, I'll use a old plastic bag, or well, plastic bag in general, zip top bag. This one happens to be from the dog's food from earlier. And I'll use any proteins, something that's going to really stink in the trash or attract any critters, things like that, smelly stuff. Just take those, deposit those into a zip top bag, seal that up, then chuck it right back into the fridge. And it stays cold. We don't get any rotting meat smells attracting anything or just stinky trash in general. Just keeps things clean. All right. Bacon's rendering. That in there. Get some water on for the pasta. And do I love this Rotopack setup. No batteries, no wires to charge a pump. Just works mechanically. I like it. Water on there. Turn that to Mach Chico. Our bacon's rendered out. So, get a little shop towel in the bottom of this bowl here. Yeah, it looks tasty. Alright, kill that one. Try and drip drain some of this grease. Got our bacon all rendered out here, provided I don't eat all of it. before we make the final dish. I love bacon. I'm gonna hide that and let that chill for a little bit. And our bacon grease here. I'm gonna save on this for a dish we're gonna do up tomorrow. Cool. A little bit of wind. Still gonna use a little bit of that. Save a portion of that for something tasty we got working on tomorrow. Have to see that in the next one though. Sounding like the water's doing the thing. And cooking any starch, cooking pasta, healthy portion of salt. And for this dish, I'm gonna use bucatini, like spaghetti with a hole in it. It's two. We find that on a lot of adventures, we end up really craving carbs. Nowhere just driving, technically. There's a fair bit of hiking or whatever, and it's still pretty physical. And just the everyday tasks, we're expelling a lot of energy. Carbs help keep us up on our energy. Drop in our bucatini there. Get the pasta spun around a little bit here. I am fighting a tickle of wind out here today. Blowing the gas around a little bit. Then as the ends of these cook, just keep spinning it all the way down into the pasta water. And go to like an Italian cardinal sin. You break the pasta. I don't know. I like it. Full length feature. You know, being just in Moab kind of gets me thinking about trails and the different difficulties of navigating some of this and rock crawling versus overlanding. This whole thing. You should probably do a separate thing on it. But in short, like, we really enjoy the kind of longevity travel and getting out to remote places. It isn't at all about getting over the big rock to the next thing. Not at all. Really cool to see that while we were in Moab and just see those trails and watch some of these crazy rigs conquer some of that. But getting just outside of that area, there's crazy rock crawling and whatnot. This is pretty accessible for your average four-wheel drive. Four-wheel drive, a little bit of clearance, you know, and you can get out to some really amazing places like that. So you don't need something built crazy. And I'm really enjoying this little chunk of country out here. It was still some fun dirt road and a little bit of washouts and some rocks and stuff to get up here, but man, you get out of the tourist areas a little bit, do a little bit of digging, you know, on the internet and find some amazing places that are just off the beaten path a little bit. And found this place. It's awesome. I don't know. It's just what we like doing. We're starting to fold a little bit. While we're exploring this particular area, another thing I like about overland travel and traveling through a lot of these places is I enjoy connecting different areas of a region on the dirt. So if there's an area, you know, obviously 70 and a few major highways connect this area between Green River and headed up towards Salt Lake and down to Moab and Blanding and whatnot. But there's alternative routes. You know, there was another way that somebody came across here years ago, whether it's for mining or ranching or, you know, the other side of town, there was a big uranium mine back in the day. So I enjoy connecting all this. So as we're exploring a lot of these trails in this specific area, I'm also connecting a bunch of this to then eventually send us all the way north to see how far we can do that on dirt. And it's just something I really enjoy doing, is connecting maybe a major city out to a rural area, all on dirt on those secondary roads. That, again, a little less travel. Looks like our pasta is just about done here. It's perfect, just after al dente. So I like it anyways. Just after, still has some bite and some structure, not complete mush, but not so, no, it's crunchy or sticking to your teeth. We'll drain that pasta. We'll come back and wrap this whole thing up. All right, pasta's drained. You're working on some garlic. This would be another great dish to use some shallots in, but I do not have shallots. Garlic will be delicious. Crunch through a bunch of this. I'm doing this on the tailgater table here. This is a really sturdy table, but I've got my hand underneath the back of this knife, or underneath the bottom of the table, so I don't send this off and send it flying off the wheel. It's balanced on either side of the wheel. I'll just take a little caution. If I was on a home block, I'd just whack. Crunch that up on there. I got a good rough chop on that garlic. Not fine into a mince or anything, but still want some chunks. The toughest part about fresh garlic, especially out here in the dry, stuck to my fingers. Anyways, it's a little windy, so I'm gonna leave my knife over the top of that so it doesn't go blowing everywhere. We get a pan on. Using that same pan that I fried up the bacon in. So still got a little bit of bacon grease in there, and then a little bit of chunkies from the bacon. Add a tickle of olive oil, another good healthy fat. And garlic into the party. Blue, you keeping an eye on things?
Says I know you have some noodles, and those are my favorite. I can sleep through bacon, but not noodles.
This dog loves pasta. I think I mentioned before that we don't feed them from here, don't feed them from the table, but the first piece of human food she had was a piece of penne pasta I was eating in something. Gave it to her as a treat after I was done, and ever since then, she was just a puppy. It's pasta. That is her chocolate. You can smell the starch in the air. All right, so we got some garlic sweating. Kind of a low heat so we don't fry. We'll grab out a couple things out of the fridge. Butter, a little Parmesan, and some eggs. knob of butter in there. There we go. Froth it out, make a nice little sauce. And as previously mentioned in other videos, I have a bunch of food allergies. So one of those is eggs, primarily pertaining to this dish. So this is where the carbonara-ish thing comes in, not just the bacon. I'm using a product by Just, and it is a plant-based egg. It uses some mung beans, some other proteins, turmeric for color, things like that. But it really works well for the sauce and fries up really nice for a scramble. If anybody's got an egg issue or is vegan, even though I'm going to top this with a bunch of pork when we're done. But for me with allergies, it's a wonderful thing. Alright, some good color on the garlic. A little frothy. We'll snag some capers. And some briny, salty flavor in here. Alright, I'm cooking the pasta. I cook it right before the doneness I want. So we're going to be adding this right back into here. It's going to cook a little bit further in the sauce. Splash of cream. Or again, in my allergy case, I'm using oat milk. Excuse me, oat milk. Drop some of these in. Dash of cream. Bit of shaved Parmesan. I don't want it to scramble. I just want it to be a nice, creamy, velvety sauce. Black pepper. Tickle of salt. Ah, it's coming together perfect. Alright, let's get this plated up. Get in there, little guy. That sauce turned out really good. It's always questionable when I'm using substitutes. I'm always trying to recreate a bunch of dishes from different restaurants that I've worked in over the years. This particular one came to my attention at a restaurant called Favorite Bistro. It's just off Las Vegas Strip, actually. A little French joint. Get some capers on there. Top with some fried pork. Finished off with some shaved parm. Well, here's the test. Let's see how we did. I love food. That is fantastic. It's creamy, salty, nutty, pork fatty. Stick a fork in it and it's done. Oh, thank you again for joining us. We're going to sit down to a beautiful carbonara dinner right on this canyon side here in Utah. It's been another wonderful time with you. We'll see you soon down the road.